175,000 to more than 600,000. Its donors have increased from 16,000 individuals per year to more than 120,000. And its membership has increased 3 years in a row for the first time in more than 20 years. Mr. Jealous began his career as a community organizer in Harlem in 1991 with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund while working his way through college. In 1993, after being suspended for organizing student protests at Columbia University, he went to work as an investigative reporter for Mississippi's frequently firebombed Jackson Advocate newspaper. Over the past 2 decades, he has helped organize successful campaigns to abolish the death penalty for children, stop Mississippi's governors from turning a public, historically black university into a prison, and pass federal legislation against prison rape. His journalistic investigations have been credited with helping save the life of a white inmate who was being threatened for helping convict corrupt prison guards, free a black small farmer who was being framed for arson, and spur official investigations into law enforcement corruption. A Rhodes Scholar, he's a graduate of Columbia and Oxford University, the past president of the Rosenberg Foundation, and also served as the founding director of Amnesty International's U.S. Human Rights Program. While at Amnesty, he authored the widely cited report, Threat and Humiliation, Racial Profiling, Domestic Security, and Human Rights in the United States. As president of the NAACP, he has opened national programs on education, health, and environmental justice. He has also greatly increased the organization's capacity to work on issues related to the economy and register and mobilize voters. A fifth-generation member of the NAACP, Mr. Jealous comes from a long line of American freedom fighters. His mother, who descends from 2 black Reconstruction statesmen, desegregated Baltimore's Western High School for Girls in 1954 as a member of the NAACP's Youth and College Division. His father, who descends from a Revolutionary War soldier who fought at the Battle of Bunker Hill and Suffragettes, was one of the small number of white men jailed during the Congress of Racial Equality's efforts to desegregate Baltimore's downtown business district. He is married to Leah Epperson Jealous, a civil rights lawyer and professor of constitutional law. They have 2 children and live in Silver Spring, Maryland. We are pleased to have Mr. Jealous. Please join me in welcoming him.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
It's great to be here with you. I've been told there's a test at 6, and some folks may slip out at 5:30. Your excuse at 5:30 if you take a test. It's a real joy to be here with you. Been to Philadelphia a lot of late, fighting for voting rights, and fighting to make sure that the economy here is more inclusive of people who have gone to prison and done their time and deserve a second chance. But I have not been to the University of Pennsylvania in a very long time, and I was heartened to get the invitation. Our work in Philadelphia is led by Jerry Mondesire, the president of the Philadelphia branch, the president of the Pennsylvania State Conference, and did incredible work last year to defeat the strict voter ID bill's implementation and make sure that the GOP leaders in the state legislature cannot realize their stated goal to steal the election in advance. Appreciate your work, Jerry. It's an honor to be with so many folks from our local branches and state leadership. Bob Bogle runs one of the oldest, most successful black businesses here in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Tribune, the oldest black newspapers in the country. And with Curtis Johnson, who was formerly of the NAACP national staff, now is in his second year at Wharton? First year at Wharton. I want to talk tonight, we asked tonight to talk about leadership, which is something that you usually don't do. Usually you just lead. You don't really talk about it. And so I was reflecting about my own career, reflecting about the work we do every day. These volunteers you see in front of you, our national staff, and thinking about you guys, graduate students, undergraduate students, in whom so many people have placed so many wishes and desires and hopes. All of us come from somewhere, from some family, some mother, some father, some community, that hopes that all of the investment they made in us will be rewarded by us accomplishing great things, hopefully not just for ourselves, but ultimately for our community and the world. And whatever you do, I pray that each of you will resolve to make this world better in one way before you die. It doesn't need to be your 9 to 5 like it is for me. But I guarantee you, life will be better. Everything you do will have more meaning if you know, as you move forward, that you have selected that one thing you are going to change before you die. And the funny thing is that once you make that decision, often that change, not always, often that change happens faster than you think is possible. Sitting in this position at the NAACP is a heady thing. I mean, I'll tell you, when I got the job, I was 35 years old. It was not a decision without controversy. I was considered to be unknown, too young, to a whole lot of other things. And I got the call at 3:30 in the morning. The board had just finished deliberation. And they've chosen you. Now, to set the stage, I was a young foundation president at the time, been an organizer for a long time before that. My job that I had was a job that was basically guaranteed until I turned 70 years old. I was the 4th president of this particular foundation in 72 years. Everybody had had it from whatever age they were until they were about 70 years old. And when my daughter was born, we had X tens of millions in the bank, 80 or so. And I left for like 5 months and let the staff run the foundation, kind of phoned it in for 5 months. And I came back and we had more money. There's just not many jobs like that. That sort of security for people of our generation. But my family also had been members at that point for 5 generations. My children now 6 generations in this organization. And I understood that there was a lot at stake for my children in the future of this organization. For the first 4 generations, this organization was on fire. And membership in this organization was expected in our community, and things got better for every generation. And then there was our generation. I just turned 40, so many of us kind of fall between 20, most of us fall between 20 and 40. For our generation, it was seen as more option. The rap was, you all just need to reap what we've sown. We've slayed the big dragons. We killed Jim Crow just like our grandparents killed his daddy. Your job is to go out there and study hard, keep your nose clean, and things will be good. We just have to reap what we've sown. By the time I was 21, I had some doubts. I was at a friend's birthday party, and I'll come back to the appointment in a second. A friend's birthday party, and somebody was toasting our friend's good luck, good fortune, his birthday. And then somebody poured out libations of memory for all of those friends each of us had who had died or gone to prison before we got to college. And then somebody trying to turn the mood around threw up their glass and toasted the fact that one more black male had survived to 21. And that last gesture cut me like a knife. I could not raise my glass. I was in psychological trauma from the notion that any person in this country could have their expectations for any group in this country so, let alone their own group in this country, so diminished that they thought it an achievement to merely breathe past one's 21st birthday. And so I did what I still have the privilege of doing. My grandmother's 96 years old. She's a third generation member of the NAACP. Her grandfather was the first in our family to join. He was born a slave. He died as state senator. He co-founded Virginia State University. I went to my grandmother's table and I said, "Grandma, what happened? What happened? You told us that we would be the first generation not to be judged by the color of our skin or what housing project our mother grew up in. Mom grew up in McCullough Homes in West Baltimore. What side of the tracks we came from, but rather the content of our character." And Grandma, that's worked for many of us. I think it's worked for me, but it hasn't worked, I'd say, for most of us. Because my generation is the most incarcerated generation on the planet. Our country today, 5% of the world's people, 25% of the world's prisoners. And the most murdered in the country. What happened, Grandma? And she said, "It's quite simple, baby. We got what we fought for. We got what we fought for, but we lost what we had. We got the right to be a police officer. We lost the right to live in safe communities. We got the right to go to any school we want to. We lost the right to assume our children would be loved by any teacher they had." Study in Texas last year, 1 million children's school discipline records reviewed. No factor more determinative of not just how the child would be punished, but whether they would be punished than that child's race. Not their behavior, their color. Morning, telling me the board has decided that I will be the 17th president of the NAACP. I think of all those conversations with my grandmother. I think about my daughter. I think about the monumental task of turning around an organization that has had 6 years in the red. Revenues have fallen from 44 million to 23 million. Fortunately, every program has shut down. All the 2 regional offices shut down. Boom, 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 boom. And at 6 a.m., I emerge from the fetal position. And I call my PR agent and I say, the woman who volunteered to help me with public relations, should I get the job? And he said, "Has the press release gone out yet?" And she said, "Yeah, baby, that press release went out about 15 minutes before they called you." And I said, "Well, I guess I have a job to do then, don't I?" And so, in this job, I want to kind of talk to you about some of the